to see how he'd play for them. I don't know how, in the limited opportunities he had, and I mean limited,
literally,
that you can actually have a rating for him.
I don't think you can.
Huh?
I don't think you can.
No, I don't think so
bases
either.
Off, a lot of it is, I think, with Madden, the same thing too. They base it off the hype of the rookie, and if it's anything like it wasn't years ago, you built the guy up, and if you have play multiple seasons, you just build his rating up higher and higher as it goes. But I have not played. It's been probably 12 years, 13 years at least, if not longer.
Yeah. So, yeah. And that's the way it is. So the ratings come out today. Okay, great. One thing I'd like to know from people is what game will they play first? Will they play Alabama against Michigan? Will they play Penn State against Ohio State? Mm-hmm. Will they play Penn State, Texas? So, yeah. I mean, I think that is going to be interesting to see what game fans will pick first for the EA Sports game. So,
yeah, it's going to be interesting. I've seen clips of the whiteout. I've seen clips of how the crowd affects the game. I think it's pretty. They've done a good job.
Oh no, these graphic artists are brilliant. They're brilliant.
Absolutely.
They're brilliant.
Absolutely.
I mean, they have skills that I couldn't even dream of having. So Brett Yormark, the commissioner of the Big 12, is a self-proclaimed disruptor. His word. They asked him about the future, the ACC uncertainty, and the death of the Pac-12, and he said, quote, "This is not the time to press pause." Really? So, what's interesting is that this is where the private equity part comes in, because you have to be able to back this up. As simple as that. You can't renegotiate your TV deal until it's up. Now, one thing I don't know about it, because I don't believe it's in the SEC contract with ESPN. There's not an escalator in it. The Big Ten contract evidently has an escalator that only includes Notre Dame. So I don't know if the Big 12 has an escalator in it. And that would be with both Fox and ESPN to do it. The Big Ten only has Notre Dame, and the SEC, to my knowledge, does not have an escalator. And with all due respect, the Big 12 is a lifeboat landing place if you have no other place to land. And I don't mean that as a put down, because we all know where the big money is. It's in the Big Ten and the SEC. And so it's all right. So right now, okay, let's just look at the economy in general. One of the keys to looking at the economy, there's several key factors to look at. One's the housing market. Okay? Inventory is low, so it's been able to keep prices high, but there's a concern that is it a bubble? And that if there is, that was the number one indicator in 2008. My good friend Rick Berry in 2007 said to me, he says, I fear there's trouble on the horizon. This is a year ahead of time. Rick always has his finger on the pulse of what's going on. He says, I'm worried. I said, what? He said, why? He says, I'm seeing signs in housing. He says that 2008 there could be a disaster. Okay? And he ended up being exactly right.
Right on.
Right? And so that's the economy. So let's get now to the TV part of it. Okay, so let's take the economy of TV. They only have so much money. I think there's some thought process out there that they have unlimited funds. Oh, goody, Peacock got 23 million people to watch the Dolphins-Chiefs game. Great. How much money did Peacock lose last year? 600 million?
Mm-hmm.
I think it's like 600 million, right?
Yeah, it was very high.
Right. So, I mean, let's look at that for a moment. And this is streaming, because streaming is supposed to be the savior, just like regional sports networks supposed to be the savior. Okay. And you notice the bubble of regional sports networks going along. So you have going back to the housing bubble, right? Bum. And then all of a sudden there's a correction. Well, in the regional sports network world, it was the savior for the NBA, but especially for the NHL and Major League Baseball.
Yeah.
And the bubble burst. Problems. Okay. And now there's streaming. Okay, so let's get to that. I'm going to look up streaming losses here. Because streaming is supposed to be the almighty savior. Revenue losses. Boom. Ooh, it's a picture of your house. Okay, so here we go. Streaming report. Okay. Let's see. Netflix. The full year of 2023 provided some positives for sector watchers. Just give me a chart. I really could care less about reading a stupid article. Right here, this is what I think. I don't care what you think. Okay. All right. So, percentage change year over year. Netflix operating margin climbed from 18 to 21%, and its profit jumped 25%. Warner's, meanwhile, made it into the black, but perhaps with an asterisk. It notably groups its linear TV offering of HBO with streamers, Max and Discovery. They're the only two that are in the black. Disney, correct me here, $1.7 billion in losses. Next, Paramount, $1.7 billion in losses. And ladies and gentlemen, NBC Universal, a.k.a. Peacock, $2.7 billion in losses. Now, has revenue been going up? Yeah, Netflix went up 7%. Disney went up 12%. I mean, they'll cite that. Paramount went up 5%. Let's see, who else here? Bing, ding, 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 ding. Warner Brothers Discovery went up 37%, and NBC Universal went up 62%. See, look what we've done. Okay, that's great. More subscribers. Okay, Netflix up 13%. Netflix went up 13%. Disney lost 5%. Warner Brothers up 2%. Paramount up 21%. And Peacock up 55%. But again, it's the money losses. I mean, the money losses are just, I mean, how do you keep sustaining a model that does that? Because this isn't the first year they've lost money. They've been losing money on this forever. Right? And this is why you got to ask yourself, right, how much longer can you sustain something like that?
Sure.
Right? And again, so, okay, unit profit loss, right? Credit Netflix. Netflix is up $7 billion. Okay, Warner, let's see. Warner Brothers Discovery, and again, part of it is they bundle HBO with streamers. Okay, got it. $103 million in the black. But then after that, it becomes a disaster.
Yeah.
Okay, $1.7 billion loss for Disney, $1.7 billion loss for Paramount, $2.7 billion loss for Peacock. Really? I mean, this is what... How long does a company sit there and lose money? You go 5 years. If you go 5 years, you've lost $10 billion.
Yeah.
Okay? You didn't lose $1.95. Okay?
You didn't even lose a million. You lost billions.
Billions.
And it's an even bigger gamble now because you're taking on where in the case of Netflix, first of all, you're getting some NFL games, you're getting the WWE's Monday night telecast or Raw, so that's going to be putting more and more money into the red,
right?
With hopes that you're going to get it back. And NBC, same thing with Peacock.
And again, my point is, don't look at the networks as unlimited cash.
No.
That's my point. That's the entire point of all this.
No, absolutely not. And that's
Disney had to cut $7.5 billion in costs to get the numbers down.
Absolutely.
Okay? They've burned more than $11.4 billion of operating losses since they launched. And they are in forecast to even make a profit. How about that?
And with this is going to come where people are already not subscribing, you're going to ask them to subscribe for a higher rate. Because that's exactly what has to happen here is in order to balance your books, you're going to have to raise your prices. There's now. See, that's what cracks me up about, like, I'll have students in class and I'll ask them about streaming. Oh, yeah, I got this. Oh, yeah, it's way better than cable. I said, how much you paying? And it turns out they're like paying more than I am. Yeah.
It's like,
and
really?
And these companies are not stupid either, where I'm talking about those that offer the television. They made some questionable moves, but they've also made some smart moves. One being a prime example of, we're going to charge you on your internet bandwidth, we're going to charge you on your streaming bandwidth, because they know you're cutting the cord for streaming and you're watching unlimited hours of something they don't have anything to do with. They're going to get a piece of the pie on it.
I mean, Peter Kafka wrote a story a year ago saying the streaming boom is over. He covers media and technology for Vox. And he said streaming is not going away, but go spending is going gone.
Yes, absolutely. And there's no question. I think those at this point...
Because they are getting buried.
They're getting buried. Absolutely. They're getting buried. Those, I think, that have wanted it by now have it. And that's the other part of it. Your subscription rates aren't going to climb dramatically. Obviously, for Netflix is a prime example. The wrestling fans are going to probably try to get over there, and your subscription number will go up. But those that are subscribing to the brand, whether it be Peacock, ESPN Plus, because of the content, a lot of it is already done. There's no question. I think a lot of people, when streaming first started, you compared it to, podcasting. Podcasting is a whole different animal. You're not investing what you're investing into that you're investing into this streaming. Okay,
But listen to this number here, Jason. Listen to this, okay?
It's huge.
Peacock, okay? Peacock had reached 30 million subscriptions. Great. Okay? Blah, 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 blah. Wonderful. Okay?
Yeah.
Now listen to this, okay? NBC Universal's loss related to Peacock amounted to $825 million in the fourth quarter.
Yeah.
Okay? Oh, no. I'm not done yet.
Yeah.
Okay? Compare with, okay, so it's improving because the year before in that quarter, they lost $978 million. So because now you're losing less, but it's still 9 figures, like way into 9 figures, bordering on 10, that's for the quarter. Yeah. I didn't say it's not for the year. Yeah. That's for the quarter.
Yeah.
Like, what do we, it's like.
Yeah, there's no question. And, I use the example of podcasting. The exact opposite is what they do. A podcaster is going to go out there and say, hey, I'm going to bet on myself, and I'm going to hope that I get the support. That support, in turn, is going to be the revenue. Whereas the streaming is, we're going to hope we get the support. We're going to invest a ridiculous amount of money in efforts to get that support. There's the difference right there. The ridiculous amount of money is very tough to gain back, and they're struggling in a big way to do it. And we're in an era right now where, look, it could change 20 years from now. We're in a world right now where Americans are struggling at times.
Yes.
An extra bill or two adds up quite a bit, especially when it's double digits, at least, sometimes triple digits. So there's no question that, I think they're in trouble right now. I think that that boom initial surge that number one was long gone is over with.
So my point is, let's bring it back to sports. Right. Streaming is considered to be some sort of savior in terms of keeping the numbers up. Right. So let's start with, so let's go back to the Big 12. We want to expand. All right. We're going to be aggressive. Okay. And we're going to get the money to do it. Not everybody is going to be SMU and say, you don't have to give us anything. When it comes to private equity, be careful for what you wish for. You need that because private equity, to their, let's face it, to their credit, they expect something. They're not making a donation. They expect something. What do you have to give to keep private equity happy? And how much power do you cede to private equity? Where they're not running the show because it's their investment, it's their money. Oh no, that won't happen. Really? Have you looked at private equity and how it's been working? I mean, you have to take a long, hard look at this, and college sports has to take a long, hard look at this. All right? Here we go. Paramount Plus hits 67.5 million subscribers as streaming loss shrinks. Okay,
that's the good news. The bad news is it shrunk to a still astronomical number.
I mean, these are the ridiculous stories about this.
Yeah.
Okay. The last quarter, Paramount lost $490 million. Oh, well, goody gumbo. That's great. Okay. Well, that's what we're getting better, right? Most people lose $490 million and they're looking around saying, I've got to find another job. But where's the money coming from? So that now the Pac-12, they're talking about putting ads on the officials' uniforms. Yeah. Okay, that's fine. Fine with that.
So am I.
I could care less. I don't want football jerseys to look like Premier League soccer jerseys where you're out there and you're playing Rutgers and it says Fly Emirates. I'm like, people should be able to look at a uniform and know who the heck it is. Right. Now, if you're in the Premier League, you already know who it is. Okay, great. All right. But here, no. And if it's done subtly and with taste, people will accept it. I have no problem with that. They should have already said you could do that with college football uniforms. They should have done that already. You've got to be forward thinking. Limit it to one advertiser. Because you don't want to, with all due respect, you don't want to have the NASCAR look, and you don't want to have it be the Indianapolis 500 where they change hats on every
change
question
hats
of the interview.
and give every sponsor in the interview before you give any kind of comment.
I just want to thank the Goodyear team; they're incredible, and and let's say DuPont's just incredible. Blah 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 blah.
Despite the fact it crashed and finished 43rd.
Over here in the back, I mean, how'd you win the race?
Yeah,
right. I really don't care.
Yeah. Fully understand it, but vice versa.
Well, right. I know. Look, you're not going to do it without money. I got it, but it's like it gets a little ridiculous after a while.
And what the prime example you used there with NASCAR, what did that do to the sport?
Crushed it. Yeah.
Yeah, it's absolutely crushed it.
It's not anywhere near as popular.
Not close.
Anywhere near as popular.
No, you can't go away from what made you.
No, and that's something that's very important to remember, because, but I have no problem at all with a patch on the uniform.
No,
and I was speaking in Johnstown, and I brought this up, and people went, "Oh, well, what isn't the swoosh enough?" And I said, "Hey, guys, well, no. No. These are longtime Penn State fans.
I get it, but the swoosh is paying big money to put be on there.
I said, look, they're the ones providing the uniforms, the shoes, and things like that. I said, I didn't say Penn State's paying for them. I said they're providing them.
They're providing them, absolutely.
Right? I said, so that's one less thing. And I looked around. It says one less thing all of you have to pay for.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Right.
And that's right. Absolutely.
Which then brought me to the next part.
Right.
I said, which brought me to the next part. I said, a uniform patch would also be one less thing you'd have to pay for. Right? This is 2024.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? This is not 1984.
Absolutely.
Where I was 100% behind Joe's thought about the uniform, no names, nothing fancy, the whole thing. Let's face it, everybody knows when they turn on the TV and they see the white helmets and either the blue or the white jersey with the white pants. It's Penn State.
Yeah.
And that's what you want.
Yeah.
I turn on a game from the Coliseum right away. Boom, there's that Cardinal in gold, and with the Trojan on the helmet, it looks USC.
Absolutely.
All right. Oregon, don't know.
850 different units.
No, but they also had to come up with a gimmick, and they did.
Yeah,
that's fine.
And it helps to have the boss.
No, but I'm saying they needed to come up with an identity, and they did. Absolutely. So I give them credit for that. That's perfectly fine. I have no problem with that.
No,
I mean, as long as I can read the numbers, I really don't care what they're wearing.
For some of their uniforms, it's
no. Paul Keels did the Oregon Ohio State Rose Bowl.
Oh.
He said, Steve, Oregon wore the jerseys. He said, we just didn't know who was in the game.
No.
So we couldn't see, could not read the numbers. Like, yeah. But on TV, it looked good.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, but that's,
But, yeah.
So back to the TV part of it. Streaming is available. Amazon's been making, I think Amazon's been making money.
Amazon
off their NFL deal, which they're paying $1 billion a year for.
Yeah.
Amazon's going to get into the NBA.
Yeah.
I think it's interesting seeing what Warner Brothers Discovery, a.k.a. Turner, TNT, you notice what they're doing now? They got 2 college football playoff games. Interesting. Because, NBC stopped carrying the NHL. What did NBC do with the NHL money? Big Ten.
Big Ten, sure.
They rolled it.
Mm-hmm.
They didn't add on the Big Ten. They've got Big Ten football. And, let's face it, Peacock does a lot of basketball.
Yeah.
For a little bit more money than what they were paying the NHL. Sure. But still, right, that's what they did.
Yeah. And as much money as they lost, they got fairly lucky this year with the boom and the craze behind Caitlin Clark. A lot of her games were on Peacock.
Right.
So that's another.
That helped.
Yeah, that helped a ton.
That helped. That's not going to help them this year.
Nope.
So back to the Big 12. Where are you getting your money so that you can support these teams?
Yeah.
Your TV deal is done.
Mm-hmm.
you can't add a streaming component because guess what? There's a bunch of your games on ESPN Plus right now.
Yeah.
That's already your streaming deal.
Yeah.
And you look at a Big 12 schedule. How many games are on ESPN Plus and not over the air?
Not over the air.
See,
Yeah.
I don't think it's a good deal. I never thought it was a good deal. I looked at it and went, okay, the money's there. I got it. The stability's there. I got it. So check both those boxes. But you have to have people that have the ability to see the game. Now, they bring in these schools. Once again, I don't know if the Big 12 contracts have an escalator in it. Okay? SEC doesn't.
No.
And the Big 10 only has for Notre Dame.
Notre Dame. Yeah.
As you can see by the Washington and Oregon deal. And your mark is interesting because he values basketball a lot. He feels that is a revenue winner for him, and he's correct about that. Baylor makes money, Kansas makes money, Kansas State makes money. They all make money on basketball in that conference. They all do. Across the board. It's not a money loser in the bunch when it comes to basketball. And he's talking about private equity. Okay? It's got to be done in such a way where you're in control of what is going on and not the private equity firm. You have to be the one running it, not them. It's under the category of not quite, but close. We want your dollars, but not your 2 cents.
Mm-hmm.
Now remember, as a private equity firm, they want to get return. All right. Advertising on fields has already been approved. And you can do it on a game-by-game basis. Doesn't have to just be for the season. You can do it on a game-by-game basis. Okay. Jason Lord International. I think I saw that on the Nevada-Reno field.
That's right. Dartmouth contacted me, but they haven't followed through yet.
I wonder why. But they should have approved the uniform patch. They should have, because that you've got to roll money in a revenue source that, by the way, is relatively easy to do. Because you have to come up with $22 million every year minimum moving forward. It's not going to be $22 million 5 years from now. It's going to be higher than that.
Mm-hmm.
But you have to come up with that money. I know the settlement hasn't been approved yet, but you have to give schools the opportunity to get ahead of this. And that's why when they only approved the field, but I think they tabled the uniform. You have to let people get ahead of the game. And I don't know exactly where he wants to go. They didn't want Oregon State and Washington State. They didn't want them. I think what he's trying to do is he's trying to set up something with, if the ACC breaks apart. But I don't know. This is a very tricky time. Oh, Kawhi Leonard withdraws from Team USA.
I did see that. Yeah.
Really?
The claim is the Clippers, with a reason. But
no, that while he felt ready to compete, he had some good practices with the team despite missing the Clippers' final 4 playoff games last season with an injured knee. Because it looks like Derek White's going to replace him.
Yeah,
from the Celtics.
Good player.
See, that shows you how smart they are about this.
Absolutely.
Instead of putting out a name, they're putting out somebody that is
to help the team,
a guy that can help you win the game. That doesn't need to take the shots.
Right. Makes
people around him better as a really good defensive player.
Yep. 2 of the more underrated players in the Celtics are on this team.
Yeah.
You have him and you have Drew Holiday.
Right.
Yep.
And they work well together already. So, I mean, that's team building.
Yep.
Which is sometimes what Team USA does not do.
Right.
But
yeah, you need the star power, of course. Absolutely, that's going to attract things. But
Sure.
no doubt about it, you need those players that are going to help you win games.
it also promotes the game around the world when you do
there's
that.
no doubt. Absolutely.
Oh, good. I'm going to be in the presidential suite. Wow.
There it is.
Wow. I'm just going to wear a golf shirt. I was going to wear the shirt you're wearing today. But no.
No, they even Penn State told me to lose that shirt. I'll tell you, that's when you know it's trouble. No, they did not.
There's a story. Who's the highest rated Penn State players in the EA Sports game? Okay.
That, believe it or not, it matters. I think when Madden brings those 99s out, everybody gets fired up.
Mm-hmm.
It is a story. There's no doubt about it.
Wow. Well, I mean, it is a story because people are interested in it.
Absolutely. Yeah. And it's, again, first time you're having a college football game in, 11 years. There's no doubt about it. There's going to be a lot of hype surrounding it.
Yeah.
And you got to have one of the bigger gaming systems that I don't own, but...
I had a friend of mine who, because he's buying the game, and he put it in ahead of time, had to buy a new gaming system for it.
Yeah, because it's only on the, I think, the latest generation.
No, I didn't have to buy a new gaming system, which is great.
Yeah, same here.
Because
I've not bought it yet.
Because I don't have one.
No, mine, I think I stopped at PlayStation 3, and we're at, PlayStation 5 now, about to be PlayStation 6. So, yeah.
Yeah. Oh, goodness gracious. Yeah, it's a tough time money-wise. I mean, and money doesn't buy you everything.
Right.
The 6-17 Yankees over the last 23 games, money can't buy you everything.
No.
It's okay.
Out of first place now, too. You got the Orioles leading that division.
Yeah.
Dodgers money can't buy you everything. They were knocked down last night.
The Phillies crushed them last night, and they got Harper and Schwarber back.
Yeah, and Schwarber back, and Turner's playing great. So I think it's first time, I think, as a Phillies fan, you're looking at the trade deadline and thinking, you can make a couple moves, but you really don't need to make any big splashes. No. I think that team is pretty set right now to make a run.
But that comes down to money doesn't buy everything.
Right.
And the Yankees are a team that has spent a ton of money. And in the last 23 games are a below average team.
Sure.
Okay.
Last 14 years, they've not won a World Series.
Oh, you're really cruel. Cruel.
I can't say much. Phillies haven't won one in 16.
Oh, just cruel.
But, no, I think ultimately I've always been, you have to spend money to make money. There's no question about that when it comes to sports. But you look at the Yankees' success.
But you have to be smart about what you're doing.
Absolutely. Yeah, smart. Yeah, no doubt about it. And you look at the Yankees' success over lifetime, really. And that's, Steinbrenner obviously built that franchise. And, the Yankees are, the worth of the Yankees is off the charts. But you look at when he was out of baseball, suddenly that core four came in, and suddenly the Yankees had a little bit of a dynasty.
Right.
When you plugged in free agents that fit your team perfectly. Right. Paul O'Neill's, the Tino Martinez's, Wade Boggs of the world, Scott Brosius. That's smart baseball.
Right. Yeah, so that's what the Orioles have a young team and ownership that would have, I think, now the ability and the desire to give some players second contracts. The previous ownership, you had doubts about it as to whether they would.
No.
The Dodgers have spent so much money, and they lose Mookie Betts, and they're struggling right now.
Yeah, and that's not due to lack of players stepping. And players have stepped up in his absence in a huge way. Like Otani's played a lot better. Freeman's played a lot better. Smith's played a lot better. But yeah, they are struggling.
Yeah. So no question. So now, the money part of it, we talk a lot about it, probably too much about it. But the reason we do is because how important it is to making the entire engine operate.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because we're at a point now with the $22 million, and that's the low number. Okay? It's not going to drop down to 16 or whatever.
No.
Okay? It's only going to go up.
Yeah.
So you need revenue streams. So back to TV. TV is not a bottomless pit of money. You can't just keep going to them and saying, hey, we need more, we need more. Now, in the next bidding war, because live sports is the one area that does attract and become appointment television, people are paying more, but they have to have a bidding process. The Big 12 can't go back and say, hey, we want more money. They have to come up with alternative sources until they get a new TV contract. And the new TV contract's not even going to be in the same realm as the SEC or the Big Ten. Yet he wants to be aggressive about this. There's only so much advertising you can put on fields. There's only so much advertising you can put on officials' uniforms and things like that. And so now you start asking, all right, how many sports do we sponsor? Because then you start looking around saying, okay, if you're Ohio State, I think Ohio State is 34, 35 sports, something like that. Can they afford to carry 34, 35 sports 5 years from now? At paying $22 million per year minimum, 5 years, you're talking about $110 million.
Yeah.
That's the minimum number. So do you transition some sports to club sports? Do you set up divisional, regional play? See, if I were the Big Ten, I've got 18 schools. I would set it up in thirds. I don't mean for football or basketball. I'm not talking about that. And maybe not even volleyball. But if I've got 15 to 18 schools playing a sport, set it up into thirds and do one crossover with the Central, one crossover with the West, and just kind of rotate it through. People may not like that, but you have to figure out ways to also save some money. I mean, those sports aren't going to get a TV contract. They already have it. It's called BTN. Now, they can get uniform patches. I mean, what would a uniform patch be worth on a Penn State wrestling singlet? Before everybody gets, hey, they're only on TV 5 or 6 times a year. Okay, so just remember, that's the purpose of it. The purpose of the patch is not that you are sitting in the stands and you see it. Now, when they sell uniforms, I was talking to Sweeney Murdy, and he told me that whenever he goes to Yankee Stadium, he said, you know what blows him away? Is you'll see people that have bought the uniform that has Star Insurance, the patch on the sleeve. He said he went up and he asked people, why instead of just a Yankee uniform? And they said, well, this is the one they wear.
Absolutely.
So, yeah, I mean, they'll buy it with the patch on it because that's what the players are wearing. Interesting. And so you put on you could put it on a wrestling singlet, but remember, football's on before millions and millions. Right? Penn State's the number 6 TV draw over the last, 8 years?
Yeah.
Overall. and you're talking about 13, 14, possibly 15 games, and a lot of them are high-profile games. Men's basketball is on TV 30 to 35 times a year.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Wrestling's on 5.
Yeah.
First of all, they don't have like a massive number of dual meets.
No, that's the other part of it
but,
right there.
But they're on 5.
I do think you have...
So the value of it is not as great as people perceive it to be.
No, absolutely. No, not at all. But I do think now you have the leverage a little bit in wrestling with the argument that, okay, our sport is as popular as it's probably ever been. I think as you're looking at wrestling, college wrestling right now.
Yeah.
And we're not breaking even. So this is where we have to capitalize.
Yeah.
And I think that's where the argument comes in, that you do it. Even with only the 5 dual meets on the TV, right. I think at that point the argument being...
I'm talking about the value of the patch on there.
Yeah, absolutely. On the singlet, absolutely. But I think you're at the point now as a wrestling program, and that's not just Penn State, that's anybody. I think the sport as a whole, you factor in the Olympics, you factor in the post-success of guys like Kurt Angle. You look at that and say...
But the Olympics only has 6 weight classes now.
Absolutely.
They've cut that down.
Yeah, they have. But you look at what these guys, when they're done with the Olympics, they're done with college wrestling, have done. They've had great success, some of them. That's part of it I think you can loop into it and say, hey, the popularity of our sport is extreme right now. Guys have gone on to successful careers outside of college, MMA, WWE, whatever it may be.
Yeah.
But right now we've got to take advantage of this popularity. I think that is where you can say, okay, get the sponsor in the singlet, get the sponsor in the program as a whole. This is where I think you've got to reach the point now where, okay, we've got to get out of the red. This is our chance, really, right now. And, we're not just saying this, look, we're in the home of a dynasty. And the word dynasty is used too much in sports. We're in the home of a dynasty right now in Penn State, with Penn State wrestling. But the sport as a whole, outside of Penn State wrestling, I still think is as popular as it's ever been. And it's going to show when the NCAA championships come to
I'll be
Philadelphia.
honest with you. I can't go with you on that.
I
think Penn State, when they wrestle somebody else, the ratings are great.
Mm-hmm.
The viewership's great. You watch the ratings on the other matches.
They're not where they need to be, but I still think the popularity is there.
What the attendance is?
The attendance for the big programs has gone up. I think not non-Penn State. That's where I think you've got to take
Iowa's
advantage.
fine.
Yeah, Iowa's fine. I think Ohio State is fine. Nebraska's fine.
They're good, but when Penn State's there...
of course. There's no question.
You shoehorn people in.
Yeah, absolutely.
When Penn State's not there and Wisconsin's wrestling Purdue... There's 1,500 people there.
No, and absolutely, I agree.
And when it's on TV, nobody wants to watch it.
That's true, but I still think...
Again, Penn State is the draw in the sport.
They are.
And Iowa...
But they're also the reason...
Iowa is a name.
Yes.
And I say this with all due respect because you have to do what...
Yeah.
You have to do what you need to do to win.
Yes.
Okay, so I got it.
Yep.
But in terms of style, Iowa style is just so boring to watch.
It's
Penn State's dynamic. Penn State's dynamic, fast, exciting, throws, take chances, right? And Iowa's trying to win 2-1.
And the other part of it also, Penn State at times does that. I think that depending on who the weight class is and who it is. But I think also Penn State's success has also gone to other programs. I think that's another way to increase the popularity. Where David Taylor, Oklahoma State.
Yeah,
that's a big part of it right there. That program.
It's one program.
Yeah, it is.
When you have one program winning the Nationals by over 100 points.
Oh, no doubt. No doubt. It's
that makes everybody here proud.
Yeah,
no question about that. It's a tremendous accomplishment. But at the same time, everybody else around the country, there's only one draw in the sport now.
Right. But you've
and it's not Iowa.
No, but that program has increased the popularity in wrestling. That is my point.
They have increased the popularity in wrestling, and they are the draw. But when they're not there,
it's different. Sure.
When they're not there, you don't have anywhere near as many people watching.
No, I agree. I agree entirely. But I think as a sport, it's grown because of that primarily.
So I'm saying if Purdue or Wisconsin or whatever wants to sell patches on a singlet, it would be a struggle. Penn State would be.
Penn State would be.
Penn State would be a bidding war.
And Penn State wrestling is not making money right now. This is where I'm going, and that's where I think, as a whole, you've got to get over that, Red. Which I think they can. I don't think there's any question they can. But
no, and the reason is you need to have an independent media contract to do that.
Well, TV deal, which they don't have either, really. No, they don't.
But they have exposure because of the BTN contract.
Sure. Absolutely.
Okay? And the exposure to me is more important than the money part of it because I don't worry and care about the money part of it.
Right.
Okay? There are too many people that get obsessed with, well, Penn State wrestling, they've got to make money, I'll pay more. Like, what do you, that's why you want to pay more.
No.
Excuse me. Okay?
No.
Football and men's basketball, and especially football,
obviously.
Okay? Makes up for any loss.
Sure.
I could care less how much money wrestling loses.
Right. But you are going to maximize your chance to make that money. There's no question.
But you don't have a media contract.
You don't necessarily have to. No, you don't have the TV deal and the media deal. Absolutely. That's huge.
If Penn State were allowed to put its non-conference matches on Flow Wrestling, for example, use that as an example, they could get a ton of money for that.
I agree.
But the BTN agreement does not allow them to do that. Okay, there's an exclusivity when Penn State's wrestling at home. It's an exclusivity. You know, when Penn State's wrestling at home in a non-conference, BTN has the rights to it. So Penn State doesn't have that option to do that. That's just the nature of the contract. But BTN is so good to all these programs. It's great for softball. It's great for baseball. It's great for gymnastics. It's great for soccer. It's great for field hockey. It's great for wrestling. Right? I mean, let's face it. BTN has been the vehicle that has allowed wrestling to have the exposure that you just talked about that's increased the popularity because they've at least allowed you to see it. Before BTN, there weren't matches on TV anywhere. And by the way, the SEC network, guess what? Except for Missouri and now Oklahoma, nobody in the SEC wrestles. Alabama doesn't have wrestling. Georgia doesn't have wrestling. Florida doesn't have wrestling. LSU doesn't have wrestling. Texas A&M doesn't. Texas doesn't. Right? So you've got 16 programs there. So the SEC is not showing any wrestling at all. None. The SEC network, zero. I don't even know if the ACC network shows any.
Not that I know of.
And then there's BTN. So I don't worry about the money part of it as long as you're getting the exposure.
Yeah.
And I don't want fans being overpriced because somebody's trying to make a point about making money out of it. I don't care.
And I think the majority of fans aren't thinking
if you've got, I know you have some people that get, just stop being so obsessed by it. Don't worry about it, okay? Make sure Beaver Stadium is filled, right? And don't complain about basketball's TV deal. Okay?
Literally.
I always love when I hear, well, basketball's a TV deal. What, do you want them to take it away? Guess who that's going to hurt? You.
No doubt about it.
Okay? You. Okay? It's going to hurt your sport. Okay? Dad, Penn State basketball shouldn't have a TV. I sit there, I go, what is wrong with you people? It's like, be happy they have it. It helps everybody. It's like, right. I just shake my head sometimes like this. I know you love your sport. I got it. But have some common sense about how the world works. Okay? There's a reason why basketball has its TV contract. Okay? There's a reason why the NCAA distribution is, I think Penn State's last year was was 2.4 million or something like that, right?
Yeah, it was up there.
Okay, do you want to know what wrestling's was? And this has nothing to do with Penn State wrestling. It's just part of the ESPN contract. You know what the distribution was? $48,000. Right? It has nothing to do with the quality of it, the excitement of it, or anything like that. It's just the nature of what the contract is. Right? Because they were all put together in that group contract, which includes women's basketball, by the way. Now, maybe it's got to be a little bit more with the new deal.
Yeah, and I think it helps it dramatically, but...
No, not...
It helps it not in making money, but it helps it dramatically in the sense that what would be the case if it was not there, is my point. It'd be a lot worse.
Let's see. It'll help some, but...
Yeah, but not anywhere near. No. Yeah, my point is...
remember, 65% of that is the
my point
women's
is
basketball
helps.
tournament.
Yeah.
So, yeah. I don't know. Being an athletic director in these times...
Not easy. I wouldn't want it. I give Pat and his staff a lot of credit. Mm-hmm.
It's not the...
Yeah.
This is difficult water to navigate. Yet they'll figure out a way. All right. Another strong show by you today. Do you study anything before we start? Do you do any research?
Absolutely.
Okay, what did you study up on today?
I'm kind of in the same mold in the sense that I'm into football season mode probably by April. I'm studying as much as I possibly can.
Well, the big time pros are into it by January.
They are.
No, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding you.
I'm still into basketball season.
Kidding you. Okay, it's a joke. Okay,
I got it.
Just almost have to hold up a sign. It's a joke.
For some you do.
Oh, just the cruelest. Oh, goodness gracious. All right. We're back tomorrow. Are you back tomorrow?
I don't know. I don't think so. I think Kyle is back tomorrow.
Wonderful. Chance for success grows.
That's right.